So it's time to turn the compost heap. This is the winter heap. So this was turned from that side into here, I think about March time, something like that. And it's been sat here ever since, nothing else added. I then started the new pile and it works its way down the line. So this will be, because it's winter, it'll be more, there was a few more browns. Quite, you know, you get all the late summer, early winter bits out the veg garden and stuff on it, and the last few sort of cuts of grass, but you don't get as much greens generally as you do in the summer pile. So what I will probably do once I've turned this newer pile into here, so that's the early summer through to midsummer pile, once that's been in here, probably sort of August time, something like that, I may combine the two. So I've got the winter and summer pile mixed and kind of give it a bit of a mix together. But yeah, it's generally once you move it from this sort of stage, there's no heat left in it now. And you'll tend to get a few more worms and insects and things come into it because the heat's gone out of it. There's all bits of paper, things like that haven't been covered, that were out on the sides a bit. So it's just basically getting everything covered again, giving it a water about every 6 or 8 inches of a layer. I get in there, give it a good soak in with a can of water, get it all moist again, and it just sort of gets it maturing, gets everything working again. And yeah, so it's literally, I use a fork and just sort of, as I go, I just sort of break up the lumps a little bit. There we go, and basically just lob it into the other side, and just, like I say, every sort of 6 inches I put a can of water and just keep it all moist. And once I've done that, I'll move this newer pile into here, and then I'll be starting a new pile in there again. So it's 2 turns, 3 bays, and that should do the job, hopefully. That's the first layer forked over. So all I do now is just give it a good soak. It's not actually too bad. In the middle it was fairly moist, but I still just give it a good soak over, and then I'll put a tarp over it just to hold that moisture in. I'll just try and get it all over. I might sometimes have to, as it gets bigger, I'll have to walk around the back and put half a can on from the back. That'll probably do us about 10 litres. That's a 14 litre can, because it wasn't quite as dry as I thought. In the middle it's quite moist, but I'll just do it. So I'll do it in layers, mixing it all, breaking all the lumps up, and as I build it, bit of water every layer, and it'll come out to about here, about the end of this tin. Be a bit of a pile, but it will sink again as it compacts a little bit. But yeah, that's it basically. I'm going to get on and do the rest of the heap now. So that's my workout for the day. What I will do is I'll turn the other heap into here another day. I suffer with my back a little bit, so anything like this, I'll just do it in stages. Because I always get a bit of back pain after I do a lot of digging. So what I'm going to do now is just put a tarp over the top. Doesn't completely cover every inch of it, but it just keeps a lot of the moisture in. Just put a few bits of wood on it. I'll kind of leave this side and the back a bit exposed because a bit of the rain dries in there. So I'll keep the sides a bit moist, and then every now and again, if it dries out for this really hot weather, then I'll lift it and just give it a can of water just to keep it moist. It keeps all the sort of microbes and things alive, and that'll do. Job done. I'll stick, knocking everything over, I'll stick one of my compost thermometers in it just to see if it goes up in temperature at all, but it probably won't, maybe a few degrees, but at this stage it doesn't really produce any more heat. Sometimes when you turn it, that extra bit of oxygen can get it going a little bit, but it won't get up to like this one at the moment. I've had a fair bit of grass this last month, and that's actually got up to over 70 C, over 70 degrees C at times. And it's holding it as well. It's holding it like permanently at the moment because I'm adding to it constantly. So I really do need to get that turned now because it's overflowing right into where I walk in. So I may do it tomorrow. and then I can start a new one again. But yeah, so you know, it's a nice looking compost. Just got to break down a bit more, a few lumps in it and stuff. But yeah, it's all good. It's great stuff for the garden, great stuff to feed my worms with too. And there's actually a few worms in this as I was turning it. I don't think there's a lot of worms in the ground here. I haven't, the times I've made compost before, I haven't had masses and masses of worms. I turned this, I probably saw 15 or 20 worms, something like that. So I don't know if I've only been making compost here for a year and a half now. Maybe it just takes a bit of time for the worms to kind of navigate to this area. I don't know, but I might introduce some of my composting worms out of my bins to the heaps as well, just to add some worms to it. But anyway, all the bacteria and stuff is great at breaking it all down. It just takes a bit of time, and but this will all be ready sort of late autumn. I'll probably start putting it on the beds and things, and but I should have another load in here mixed with it by then as well. So yeah, we'll turn that maybe tomorrow, and I'll show you how that looks as well, because it's obviously going to be very fresh on top. I started that pile when I turned this over, so like I said, I think it's about March, not 100%, I don't write anything down, but I think it's about March time, so it should be fairly well broken down in the bottom, almost looking a bit like this, but with a bit more visible sort of chunks in it, going up to very green on the top. So obviously I'll turn the green to the bottom and mix it in a little bit, and that can then just sit there. Again, I'll give it a water and I'll cover it with a tarp to really keep that moisture, and that will have a lot of heat then when I turn it, 'cause it's still in the hot cycle now. And then I can start another pile, and that'll be ready to turn then come the end of August when I turn this one to mix with this. So yeah, I'll be doing that one next. So it's actually been about a week or 10 days since I turned the middle compost over to there. So I have added a lot more to this. It does, like I say, it does keep dropping, but it's coming right out here now, getting in my way a bit. So I'm going to start turning it today. It's the end of the day now. It's nearly 5 o'clock. So I'm just going to make a start, and then I'll finish it off over the weekend. But as you can see, it is hot. It's right up. It's actually been over 70 at times. So it's smack on 70 degrees now. I could literally almost slow cook my dinner in there in a bit of foil or something. But so obviously there's a lot of green in it. I've been mixing the wood chips and paper, cardboard and stuff like that with it. It's still going to have a lot of heat when I turn it. It'll aerate it. I'll add a bit of water too. All the water that I use, that I add, is all rainwater. I don't use any tap water. So it's all got the, you know, natural bacteria and stuff in it. So this is a hot heap, and it's going to stay hot for probably a fair few weeks after I've turned it. But I just need to start a new pile, so I'm going to make a start. And what I'll do is I'll try and just cut a wedge off and show you the sort of layers in there as it goes down to the bottom stuff, which perhaps halfway back would have been around March time. I'll see if I can sort of get a good shot of the layers to show you how it looks as you layer it up. So I've done about the first quarter. It's steaming really well, nice and warm in there. So you can sort of see the top sort of foot deep is all still fairly fresh, and where most of the heat probably is. There is a fair bit of heat coming down into the centre of the pile here. Probably not quite as hot as the top, but there's a lot of fungal action, obviously, with the wood chip. This is why I like to add the wood chip, because it's good to have the fungal strands as well as the bacteria. You can see all the white, the wood chip there. But the reason I like to turn it, and to turn it twice, is because you get things like this. This is right at the bottom. Obviously put some straw in, and that is absolutely bone dry. It's just got compacted in there, and it's bone dry. And there was a few leaves over this side that were bone dry as well. So basically, as I turn it, you can see that that's all still fairly fresh stuff, but it's fluffed it all up. I get all the dry stuff out, and I give it, as I did before, I give it a good watering over, keep it nice and moist. I won't bother putting a tarp on this because it'll still be quite warm. I'll just keep it watered, keep it moist, and It will keep breaking down from there. This front part of the pile that I've just moved, there was a lot more grass than I was happy with. So what I'm actually doing is added some shredded newspaper and cardboard. I just shred it through this shredder here, through the front. It chips in the side, shreds through the front, and it shreds up cardboard, paper, hedge clippings, all that sort of stuff. And I just collect it into this, shreds them up fairly fine, not the finest in the world, but because there was a lot of green in here, and I'm just adding a bit more carbon to it, just to sort of equal out the greens that are in there. I do get a lot of grass, so I just have to be careful to make sure that it's not all grass. It doesn't go stodgy. I never do too much. But like I say, I was just forking it over, and there was a lot more grass than wood chips. I think I'd thrown the wood chips more up the sides and the top and hadn't really covered that front bit. So a good bit of newspaper like that and old cardboard, it breaks down fairly quickly, so I'm not worried about adding it at this point. I'll give it a bit of a water over as well, and that will just help to balance it out a bit, and I'll put the rest of that in when I'll do another layer in a minute as well. So I've hit a really dry patch. At the back, at the bottom, it was all compressed, really heavily compressed. It's broken down a bit, but it's just really dry. So as I'm forking it over, I've just put my pump on, my petrol pump, wedged it up the top, and I'm just running that into the middle there. And I'm just forking it over and giving it a real good soak because it's bone dry. So I've got to get it all moist again to get it breaking down. So that's the heap all turned over now. So you can see it's getting that darker colour. You know, that obviously not as dark as that one. It's getting that darker colour, and this is some of the stuff that was at the bottom, even though it was a bit dry. But it's obviously still very much got all the newer lumps and bits of straw and twiggy bits in it. So yeah, this will break down quite a lot. By the time I turn it, I expect it to probably only be just above the tin. It'll probably drop about 2 foot. But yeah, God, that was a bit of a mission. About an hour solid shoveling. That's a good lot of compost there. Good pile that is. So this, at the end of the summer, I'll probably turn that over and mix it with the other one. I might even get my little tiller, a mantis tiller. I might even get that on and sort of turn the turbine together. Now I've got to start filling this bay. By the end of the summer, this bay will be full to the brim again. So yeah, hopefully this autumn I'm going to be pretty much sort of self-sufficient with compost, apart from a bit of seeding compost, stuff like that. Yeah, so have a good job done. Take it easy, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the channel, and we will see you next time.